Romania International. You are listening to our one-hour broadcast in English for listeners in Western Europe and Japan. We can also be heard on the internet at www.rri.ro Channel 1. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter and other social media platforms. Our programs are also available on TuneIn and via satellite Eurosat 16A on 11,512 MHz, vertical polarization, azimuth 16 degrees east. Symbol rate 29,950 mega symbols per second, standard DVB-S2, modulation 8 PSK, audio PID 510. We wish you good reception conditions. Hello, this is Daniel Biltz with the news, the headlines. In spite of the low number of COVID-19 infections, authorities in Romania fear the Delta variant, which is to become dominant in autumn. The EU Commissioner for Health and Food Safety, Stella Kyriakides, is to visit Romania on Friday, and Romania will be celebrating the completion of its almost 20-year mission in Afghanistan through a military parade in Bucharest on July the 21st. Only 62 new COVID-19 infections were reported on Thursday in Romania out of roughly 25,000 tests conducted. Authorities have also announced 3 COVID-related fatalities. 300 patients are being treated in hospitals and 54 in ICUs. In spite of the small number of infections, authorities are fearing the Delta variant, which is to become dominant in autumn and spread rapidly. In their opinion, the only way to prevent this situation is to vaccinate as many people as they possibly can until autumn. Since the vaccine rollout kicked off in Romania on December 27th, 2020, 4.7 million people have been vaccinated in this country. And since authorities are far from being satisfied with the number, they have been looking for ways to step up the vaccine rollout. Romania must double its vaccination efforts this summer, as only 30% of its adult population has been vaccinated, says the European Commissioner for Health and Food Safety, Stella Kyriakides, who is to pay a visit to Romania on Friday. According to this EU official, the Delta variant, which has been identified in Europe and is more contagious, represents a major risk for people who haven't got the jab. Vaccination is the most powerful weapon against the virus variants, the European Commissioner went on to say. According to a communiqué issued by the European Commission representation in Bucharest, the EU Commissioner Kyriakides will be meeting Health Minister Ioana Mihailă and pay a visit to the vaccination center in Petrăști, southern Romania. The talks will be focusing on the EU's vaccine strategy, Romania's vaccine rollout, as well as the guidelines provided by the European Health Union. An air show, part of the military parade next week to mark Romania's Aviation Day on July the 20th and the end of the Romanian mission in Afghanistan on July the 21st, has been cancelled through an order by the Defense Minister. The decision came after the incident on Thursday when a US helicopter on a training mission had to make an emergency landing in downtown Bucharest. Nobody was wounded in the incident and the material damage was low. 2 lampposts fell and damaged cars. The end of Romania's mission in Afghanistan will be marked through a military parade in Bucharest by the army structures which carried out various missions in this country starting 2002 until June this year, when the last Romanian soldiers were repatriated. 27 Romanian servicemen have been killed in action in Afghanistan, and over 200 have been wounded since the first deployment of Romanian troops in this country. Dozens of thousands of people protested on Wednesday across France against the new coronavirus restrictions. President Emmanuel Macron announced that vaccination will become mandatory for healthcare workers and other professions, and a health pass will be required to gain access to public places like cinemas, theatres, trains and long-distance flights. Rallies were also held in Greece, where thousands protested against the government's measures to contain the spread of the virus. The country's Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said the staff of care homes for the elderly must get the vaccine or face dismissal. 4.3 of Greece's 10.7 million population is fully vaccinated against COVID-19, and the Greek government fears a new rise in cases and pressure on hospitals. The European Commission on Wednesday proposed ambitious measures to reach its climate goals. Together with the distribution of national targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, these are likely to be subjected of heated debates among the 27 EU member states, Reuters notes. The proposals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 55% compared with 1990 include increasing costs for emissions generated by heating, transport and the industrial sector, taxing the fuel used in air and naval travel, and banning from 2035 the sale of new diesel and petrol cars. And that was the news from Radio Romania International in Bucharest.
The government of Romania has taken responsibility for implementing the presidential project Educated Romania. I'm Ana Maria Popescu with more on this in a report written by Stefan Stoica. Initiated by President Klaus Iohannis, the Educated Romania initiative has just turned into a governmental project. The cabinet will come up with a legislative package containing reforms in the education sector and funding sources for the relevant goals. The legislation will be finalized by the 1st of October, and the financial resources will come from the state budget and from the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. The project targets the improvement of school infrastructure, of teacher training, and of the education process. A developed country with a sound democratic system requires educated and informed citizens, said President Iohannis, himself a teacher and a politician whose presidential terms in office focused on education. Klaus Iohannis.
Nu putem continua cu rate atât de mari de abandon, analfabetism funcțional și științific.
We cannot go on with such high dropout and functional and scientific illiteracy rates. For these problems, Educated Romania comes up with concrete solutions, with ambitious yet realistic goals, measures and targets. Specific targets include cutting the early dropout rate, the functional illiteracy rate, ensuring basic digital skills for both teachers and students, developing vocational education, and increasing the number of higher education graduates. According to Prime Minister Florin Câțu, the government aims to cut functional illiteracy from 50 to 20% by 2030 and to reduce school dropouts. By the 1st of August, an inter-ministry group will be set up, which will be monitoring the project. The group will be chaired by the Prime Minister, with the Education Minister Sorin Câmpeanu as deputy chairman. Câmpeanu emphasized that the new political agreement is necessary so as to prevent changes in the relevant legislation in case other parties come to power. Sorin Câmpeanu.
Prima sarcină a grupului interministerial care se va forma cu termen limită 1 august va fi să stabilească în ce măsură vom merge către o lege a educației republicană.
The first task for the interministry group to be set up by the 1st of August will be to decide whether to amend the current education law or to draft separate laws on undergraduate and graduate education, whether academic research will be integrated in the graduate education system, and whether the law will incorporate regulations on the teaching profession. This is the first task on which this group will have to focus, and its political composition will be important because ultimately the bill will go to Parliament for endorsement. We need consultations to identify a common denominator acceptable for all political parties so that we may ensure predictability in the education system. After Romania's NATO and EU accession, the overhauling of the country's failing education system might be the most important national project, transcending political differences. Its success would be vital for the future generation's ability to thrive in a constantly changing world. And that wraps up today's newscast on Radio Romania International. Don't forget to also follow us online at rri.ro and on Facebook.
Next in this program, sports. Welcome to a fresh edition in our sports series. I'm Imogen Nasta. Today we will be looking at the Romanian champions who has not been included in Romania's delegation at the Tokyo Olympics. Romania sent a 101-strong delegation to the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Quite a few of the athletes are former Olympic medalists, world or European champions. At home, all hopes are pinned on them for top-flight performances. We won't fail to say that some of Romania's great names in world sport have not been included in the delegation. The greatest Romanian woman tennis player of all time, Simona Halep, will not be traveling to Japan. We recall Simona has been WTA #1 tennis player for 64 weeks. Halep won 2 Grand Slam tournaments in Roland Garros in 2018 and in Wimbledon in 2019. Simona Halep held recognition in 22 WTA tournaments. Simona participated in the London Olympics in 2012 when she was eliminated from the competition's very first round. Fears caused by the Zika virus kept Ms. Halep away from the Rio Olympics in 2016. Simona is currently 9th placed according to WTA rankings. We recall the Romanian sustained an injury during the Rome tournament in May this year. Simona Halep has not recovered completely, so she's set on letting everybody know that she shall not be putting too much stretch over herself. Halep will not have her conduct on court earlier than August 2021, when she will be participating in the Cincinnati tournament most likely. Romanian tennis cannot rely on Horia Tecău either. Tecău is one of the world's best men's doubles tennis players. For the Olympic Games in Japan, Horia does not have a partner with whom he can team up in the men's doubles or in the mixed doubles. In the men's doubles, Tecău should have teamed up with Florin Mercea, but the latter tennis player's too low WTA ranking, 165th, officially denies Mercea participation in the Tokyo Olympics. In the mixed doubles, Simona Halep should have been Tecău's partner. Also absent from the Romanian delegation traveling to Japan is one of the world's greatest handball players, Cristina Nagu. And that's all from Sports Today. You can also access our sports items at rri.ro and on Facebook. Today's broadcasted hit of the day, listen to Carla's Dreams and their latest single, Nice and Easy.